Elliot. Feel free to argue, and today's vlog, it's got to be a better way of saying that, starts with, I guess, what is your preferred way of referring to them? I usually think of them as tornado sirens, but I guess they're also air raid sirens to some people. I guess it depends on how old you are, how paranoid you are. So those will be going off in the background here for a little while. They always test them on the same day every month. Give an appropriately creepy background. So, in any event, wanted to talk a little bit about BP, some of the stuff I saw this morning on Democracy Now! And also, and just recently, because they've been talking a lot about it. And also wanted to briefly clarify about the Israeli attack from yesterday, because just the way it's playing out in the news, I just wanted to be extra clear about what I meant in my video yesterday. So first to talk about BP, and there's just, Democracy Now! Has just been digging up some amazing stuff. You know, of course they're putting a very, you know, personal face on it. You know, they're actually going down and, like, you know, seeing stuff, talking to people who are affected, and you know, putting a very personal face on things. You know, they spent a long time, in fact, this morning, you know, talking to you know, I guess the biggest shrimper in the area, and you know, mostly he was in good spirits, but every once in a while he got really, really bitter and angry. And deservedly so. I mean, you know, the guy is basically put out of business. And he really kind of hit home, you know, just how really bad this was, in the sense that, you know, this hit right at the point when generally all of these fishermen are their most leveraged. They are just preparing to, you know, reap, you know, the benefits of all of the investment that they have been putting out, you know, and this is going to wipe them out. And this is why, you know, BP can hire these guys. And here's another important part of the equation. They had somebody on there who was willing to be terminated to get the word out that he had signed a contract with BP, and one of the stipulations of the contract was that, you know, he not talk, you know, to anyone in the media. And for example, you know, and Amy Goodman, I think, she had to test it out. So she cornered somebody who had just come in from working on the oil spill and tried to get them to talk, and they wouldn't. You know, it was an uncomfortable moment, but I mean, I think you have to do that to kind of show the contract in action. You know, to see it shutting up people. You know, that they can't talk about it. And in terms of, like, you know, trying to manage their image, another extremely disturbing thing came up. I think it was like last Thursday, actually, where she was interviewing somebody, and he had direct experience with guys who had, you know, because they were experiencing the respiratory problems that all of them are experiencing, had bought some respirators, you know, out of their own pocket. And I think a couple of them had some donated, but I mean, a couple of them had just bought them out of their own pocket. You know, this aside from the fact that, like, you know, there are rules for this sort of thing, and BP is supposed to be providing all this stuff, but they had gotten it out of their own pocket. Now here comes the truly amazing part. He talks about how a BP representative came up to these guys when they were wearing their respirators and told them to take them off, or they were going to be fired. I will, of course, link to that, because I don't know. It was one of those things that I actually had a hard time saying, oh my God, really? Because, you know, you just, when you think you've got a handle on things, and I mean, I try not to believe in evil, but, you know, I just don't know how to process information like that. So these are kind of like the most interesting things that I've been seeing, aside from, you know, the stuff that I've learned off of I'm Just a Girl's channel. She's done some amazing stuff. She has amazing background material, you know, especially talking about the second lead that nobody's talking about at all. It just keeps getting worse and worse. But speaking of things that keep getting worse and worse, let's talk briefly about the way the whole Israel attack thing is getting spun out in the media. And I'm disheartened by the fact that, like, you know, this conversation is taking place exactly where Israel wants it to, which is about whether or not, you know, the force was appropriate and how much force did the people on the boat use, and, you know, was Israel's response proportional, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's just drop this right away, because this kind of presupposes Israel's right to be on the boat in the first place, and that should not be presupposed at all. So, just to be clear, you know, if the people on those boats all whipped out Stinger missiles and shot those helicopters out of the sky and, you know, had machine guns and machine gunned and killed every single Israeli on the boats that were trying to board them, I would be totally okay with that. Because Israel has zero right to go on those boats and do anything. And those people are 100% entitled to defend themselves in any way they want to. And that includes killing every motherfucking Israeli commando that is coming to board their boats illegally. Because that is piracy and kidnapping and, you know, since they kill people, also homicide. And there should be no conversation that even has a hint of a breadth of saying about it that Israel was at all justified. And so, did they use force? Sure. They should have used more, but they were probably afraid of the Israelis, and rightfully so, because Israeli commandos are considered some of the worst badasses on the planet. Oh, and by the way, one more thing, since a little bit's been made of those paintball guns. I love the testimony from this morning from the US Ambassador who was on one of the boats, and Amy Goodman asked him about the paintball gun. He said, oh yeah, there was a paintball gun. It was strapped right to the side of the rifle, underneath the taser, next to the pistol, by the stun gun. All right, so there you go. It's verified. There were paintball guns. Yeah, and those they weren't at all threatening at all. You know, they were next to all that other shit. Well, but there you go. This has been Zach Elliott, and you can certainly always feel free to argue. Take care, everyone.